Well, good morning and afternoon. Thank you for joining us at Ascension's annual meeting. We'll get started. I'll call the meeting to order. And just a few housekeeping tips to cut down on background noise. Everybody has been muted. If you need to say something, ask something, you can enter that on the chat, or you can unmute yourself and ask the question you need to ask. Is that everybody clear on that? I hope. I can't see hands or anything. So we'll get started with opening prayer. Almighty and ever-living God, source of all wisdom and understanding, be present with those who take counsel at Ascension Hattiesburg for the renewal and mission of your church. Teach us in all things to seek first your honor and glory. Guide us to perceive what is right, and grant us both the courage to pursue it and the grace to accomplish it. Through Jesus Christ, our Lord. Amen. Amen. I'm going to ask the clerk, Pam Cameron, have we established a quorum?
Yes, ma'am, we have.
Okay, very well. Everybody should have gotten a copy through email of the agenda, the reports, and the minutes from last year's meeting. I would ask if everyone got those and have a chance to look at them. And should there be questions on the meeting minutes of the 2020 annual meeting?
I move that we accept the minutes written.
There's been a motion to accept the minutes of the 2020 meeting as written. Do I have a second?
I second the motion.
It's been seconded. The minutes of the 2020 meeting have passed as written. Next will be Mary Clinton with the report. Mary Ellen?
Unmute. So bear with me.
Good evening, everybody. We all know Ken's wife passed away last week, and I am taking his place to do the I'm looking at the budget that you should have a copy of that came through the packet and email, and it's Ascension general budget, actual and budget for January through December. I want to orient you to the report. The first two columns are the actual for the first one. That's exactly what we spent or collected during the last fiscal year, and then it shows the budget. The third column is just a redundant of the 2020 budget, and then the fourth column is the budget that Barbara will present after I speak. If you look at the first column, you'll see that we had got right at $150,000 in pledges, and our budget was a little over 170. So we had a deficit there. Specified pledge was a deficit. Designated pledge was over their budget, which was excellent. Plate was a little over budget too. The diocese, the 40-20, the diocese funding is there, and we've had a little cut in that through the year. Bishop's purse is just somebody donated $500 to the bishop. The negative there with the $207,000 in the budget and 182 collected is that's $24,501. Going into other sources, which the numbers are 5,000, excuse me. If you look at the Ministry of the Pots, well, the actual was excellent. It met the budget. We had great cooking in November. And as always, we need more helpers, so I'll have to put that in there. We do have two 12-step programs running the parish hall, so that's what the rent product is of $925. interest was minimal, as you can tell. The other two things were just some hospitality events that were not budgeted. This shows the income on those. Coming on down, the bread basket donation for the year will be sent out to the bread basket at $15.95. So you look at the bottom line there on 5,000. We spent 20,000. No, excuse me. We collected 20,400, and the budget was 17,500. So we did come out positive on that number. The total income, which is the next number there, we had a budget of 207,000 for the income budgeted, but we only collected 203. I'm just giving us round numbers here. So that was right at a $4,000 negative. Coming on down to expenses, I'll have to commend the volunteers that worked so hard with the church this year, and for Linda for her ever coupon cutting and making sure we get good prices, especially on supplies. The VPG, which is our voluntary proportionate giving to the diocese, we met that on the budget, $22,770. And Graceland did not receive any funds. Seminary sport met that budget of $22,007. And outreach, go all the way on outreach, we did $4,125 versus the budget of $6,500. And bread basket donations will extra plus what we give through the budget. Shows that the general church expense was $29,682, and the budget was $32,898, which was a $33,000 spread. The altar guild supplies, Christian ed, hospitality supplies, Halloween carnival, of course, that's not budgeted. This is invalid. That does not. We didn't use a lot of this past year. Music and choir, $380, and their budget was $700. Office supplies of $2,890, and the budget was $3,500. Copy lease that kept come around every month. And the record search, if that's what the search committee used during the 2020 year, and because most of the author stuff was done on Zoom, so there was no travel expense involved in it. So in the operating expense, you'll see that we saved actually $3,871. If you go to the next page, lawn care was a little bit over budget, primarily because last year we failed to not budget bush hogging the property across the street. Pest control was under budget, and property insurance was a little bit over. Janitorial supplies, you can see. Parish cleaning, we'll talk about a little bit more. We got someone in here to clean the parish hall one time, $75 before it was closed down. Repairs and maintenance were under budget. So you see that for the total of $8,000, we had a savings of $2,112. Brought it under budget. The utilities, if you look at those, there's nothing that really outstands on that. We did the church funds a little bit more than budget, also with internet, but we still came in under budget at $14,122. We'll go into salaries. Music director, and I'll tell you now, we did pay the employees, the two, the organist and the music director, what they pay monthly, contributed for them this year. Nursery workers, we had minimal because we didn't have church that much. Of course, that's the organist right there. Now, when you come down to the secretary, she was really our full-time, we call her full-time, 4 days a week. You can see her, and she was a little bit under budget. Going into the sexton, Patty has not been able to work very much this past few months, latter part of the year. So that's really a big savings there. She had income about $3,100, and we had a $7,000 budget for her. The stipend under the $9,500 stipends were paid. That's what we paid with the supply priest, $65.19, and that big number, $84,000. What we were trying to do is we budgeted last year. If we got a priest, we would have it in the budget. That's the reason that number's so big. Employer matching, you know what that is. Good old IRS. Works comp, It was a little bit under, and that goes to the diocese. That's something they do for the whole diocese. We all work under the same program. Salaries were 51,876, and the budget was 138,579. Now, the total expenses were basically 140, and the budget was 228. We have a net of 72,201.94, and I don't want you to say hip hip hooray. I say hip hip hooray because people did pay their pledge, most of it, and the fact that the volunteers and Linda were very, very frugal. Um, I have to tell you that 72,000 is like a shot in the arm for us for next year. Because this year we had, in 2020, we had 149 pledges, an income of totaling 170,000. This year we had 40 pledges, and the income is, Barbara will tell you when she does her budget, when she does the, I won't talk about it, I'll let her do that. So, if you have any questions, I hope I didn't go too fast, but, and try to get as much detail as I could. Now, I'd like to give you a brief thing on the Ascension special money market that we have. And this, you see over 1 through 36, that's the items that are in there. That's something like Tuesday Morning Bible Group. They have $181 in there. Just come on down and you'll see that. So if we go down to number 24, building fund, many parishioners combine on their check, they combine the building fund and the designated fund, the pledge to the debt retirement. So that's what that is. And every quarter, Ken sends me a check to be put into the debt retirement. So let's see what else comes on down. See, we have a U.S. QC line 30, which shows us a reserve of about 3,700 that's used for the students. And we have a replacement fund, which we really need to grow because that's going to help us do any type of repairs and cleaning and stuff like that. The restricted fund, general fund, 50,346. We called that out on yesterday. We transferred that 50,000 from general account about 5-6 years ago. And we let it sit there, and that's when. If you look on the far side, we have in that account 91,696.32, but that is designated for specific things lined up over here on the first column.
Yeah, it's gonna be
Well,
once it clears up.
while I'm here taking an election, I'll talk about the debt retirement program. There is a sheet in your packet that came out, and I just want to briefly point out.
And then I just go ahead and count your vote.
In 2017 of 550,000. It was a 15-year note for the Grace House. And we have, we have monthly payments of $4,296. We're currently in a 3-year fundraising campaign, which will end at the end of next year, and then this year, with a goal raising of $300,000. We have received $217,400 so far. We have this year in that campaign left. And I think we will be very close to that 300,000 mark. But the next paragraph is the one I want you all to listen to. As of 12/31 of this past year, the remaining mortgage is $464,536. That's what remains on the mortgage. The current bank balance in the debt retirement is $235,861. That's enough money to get us through. The debt is about about $50,000 a year. So you can divide that into 235 and see how many years we have. From this information, we can all see that traditional financial campaigns to retire the debt is going to be necessary. We Besides today, we're open to all ideas and suggestions. Please call me if you have any questions or suggestions. I'll be happy to discuss them with you. And that's what's my report.
Okay. Are there any questions about the financials before we leave that topic? Nope. Okay, we're good. All right, next on the agenda, you will see that we should consider nominations from the floor for vestry members. So, are there any nominations from the floor as for vestry members? And just remember that nominees must be in good standing, and ideally, you should have spoken to the person first to ascertain if the person is willing to serve. It is a 3-year term. So are there any nominations from the floor? Nope. Okay. Then we will get a report from Ralph Beeman, who we really owe a debt of gratitude to. He was a one-man committee. The other two people that were rolling off the vestry with Ralph this year were not able to serve as a nominating committee, and Ralph did this on his own, by himself. And so we not only thank you for your years of service to the vestry, but for being committee. So just a short report from Ralph on the nominating committee.
Okay. Of the people that I asked to serve, I have 3 positive people that are going to be on or be agreed to serve. Warden Curry, who is not here today, and Beth Robinson, and Kevin Dearman, which hopefully he will be able to be at most of the meetings. But we know his job does take a priority, and that's who's been nominated.
Okay, thank you. Okay, just to be clear, we have 3 nominees to replace 3 people that are rolling off. The nominees are Ben Curry, Kevin Dearman, and Beth Robertson. Is there a motion to elect these 3 to the vestry by acclamation?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, the motion is passed.
Who didn't want her?
Congratulations on Kevin and Beth. We'll do the next meeting is February the 17th, I think. So be ready. Okay. Next up is the senior warden's report. It was sent to you by email. It's common for the senior warden's report to be read, so we did have an active year, so just bear with me. Well, it's January 2021. We are still dealing with a worldwide pandemic, which began in 2019. In-person services are suspended right now, yet again. And we are dealing with a clergy vacancy that also began in 2019. So happy New Year. I thought I'd get all the negative stuff out of the way first. In 2020, we began the year by chalking our doors, asking God to bless all visitors who entered. Then we went on with our day-to-day operations. We held our annual meeting on January 19th, had a gumbo cook, sent delegates and the gumbo to the 193rd Annual Council in Tupelo, gave thanks for an increased ECUSM amount from the diocese, and the supply pre-schedule was working. We looked forward to search committee reports, chose delegates to attend the upcoming 194th annual council, began Lent with an Ash Wednesday service, and continued with Wednesday evening Lenten services or series entitled A Labyrinth's Walk to Jerusalem. This was all performed before March. But then COVID-19 spread across the nation and reached Mississippi by March. Bishop Sage, out of an abundance of caution, sent a letter dated March 13th, suspending in-person services. The first Sunday our doors were closed was March 15th. It did throw us for a loop at first, and we scrambled to cancel meetings and get information out regarding services that people could watch online. However, as the suspension lasted more than just 1 or 2 weeks, including Easter, we rebounded and began videoing services ourselves and learned to use Zoom for meetings. Who knew Ash Wednesday would be the last communion we would have corporately until we designed the communion to go bags for a virtual Ascension Day service. However, we were thankful to be able to watch Ascension services and partake in Holy Eucharist. As the state's COVID numbers fell, we were allowed to begin in-person services again, beginning with severe restrictions in June. Remember having the 3 services with an assigned time, no singing, no books of common prayers or hymnals, no more than 10 people, communion in one kind, posting those tacky CDC posters, wearing of masks, continuing to live stream for those who were at home, no passing of an offering plate, no real passing of the peace, the ever-present hand sanitizer, no water in the baptismal font, and I'm sure I've left something out, but I'm sure we actually did it. However, we were thankful to be together. We give tremendous thanks for our faithful visitors and our new members. In June and July of 2020, there was excitement in the air as the search committee presented a candidate and he and his family actually came for a visit. But it was not to be, as he was needed elsewhere. However, we were thankful the search committee cranked right back up in September and all members agreed to serve again. We also gave thanks, and so did they, that we did not have to start from square one. As the COVID members began to rise after Thanksgiving, it was really no surprise when we got a second letter from the bishop dated December 2nd, again suspending in-person services. He did allow for Christmas Eve only, an in-person service with restrictions. So we held both a virtual and an in-person service, and we were thankful. We suffered loss. Larry Mulligan, Bill McKinley, Carol Kippenhahn, Gene Socher, and Howard Stroud. We gave thanks for having known them and the lives they led. Members moved to other towns or states, and we miss them, but we wish them Godspeed. Others have faced illness and other personal tragedies. We give thanks for their returned health, and for those who suffered personal tragedies, we are thankful that they know the parish's love and support is with them. So in the midst of a most unusual and sometimes chaotic year, our church family has much in which to be thankful. We gave thanks for our supply priests, Reverend Harold Roberts and Reverend Susan Baer. When the diocese cut the budget of college ministries this past year, we gave thanks that ECUSM did not take too big of a hit. We gave thanks that most of our guilds and ministries have figured out how to carry on during the pandemic and the shutdowns. The OK still serve, the Flower Guild, Altar Guild, Stewardship, Outreach, Ministry of the Pots, which is of course Gumbo. They all still serve. The Discernment Committee continued to meet, the Simon Ministry continued to serve, the Search Committee continues to meet, and we even managed to pull off Halloween Harvest Hoedown, albeit a little different, but we pulled it off. We are thankful we could help St. Elizabeth's in April with tornado relief, that Randy Germany successfully completed the discernment process, and for the creativity and talent of Jason Niblett as he gives us a lot of his time to make sure services are recorded or live streamed. We give thanks for our worship leaders, including vergers, acolytes, and readers, as they continue to give their time. We are thankful our worship space was used for the ecumenical Thanksgiving service. Our church family gives thanks, and I give personal thanks for Linda Richard. She has been the steady constant, keeping the church office open, getting the sunrise and multiple bulletins completed, keeping a normal as possible schedule for us, relaying information, and taking care of the general business of the church. She is a jewel and needs a crown for putting up with me and the rest of us crazy Episcopalians. I give personal thanks for all the many doers and all the helpers. Some cleaned, some visited the homebound or provided food, folded bulletins, arranged flowers, planned and or participated in services, cooked and dipped gumbo and washed the pots, served or are continuing to serve on a committee. Thanks to Ken, our treasurer, who pays the bills, and a whole lot more. Thanks to those who help keep the financial record, serve as chair of a guild or a ministerial committee. I give thanks for you who give your time and talent freely, whenever and however it's needed. Thanks to those of you who have given words of encouragement and wisdom. You all know who you are. There are so many of you. I give thanks for all the new things that I have learned. Most of them anyway. I am thankful the vestry has enough confidence in Ben and myself to serve as your wardens again. You would think that during 2020, a year of unprecedented stumbling blocks, there would not be much to report. However, from the length of this report, you might know the very opposite is true. We have been busy, praising God in and with our worship, and being the hands and feet of Jesus to the world outside our doors. We have acted in faith and faithfully. We did not recognize all we had done because it is simply who we are and what we do. We are thankful. We are hopeful. We are hopeful that 2021 gives us even more opportunities to act faithfully, to be the hands and feet of Christ. That is the senior warden's report. So next up is the junior warden's report. Come on up here. He's been busy too.
Good afternoon. To piggyback off of a couple things that Barbara mentioned, in my position, I cannot give enough thanks to Linda as well. The backbone of the daily operations of this church. She's here every day. She's here taking care of the small behind the scenes things that make this church operate on a daily basis. Added to that is our senior warden, Barbara. Again, she's up at the church many days of the week during the day when many of us don't have the ability or don't have the time to be up here, and she's up here dedicating her time. And quite honestly, I could not do my job without the help of her. And both of those ladies, I think, really made this parish and made this church operate this year. 2020 was the perfect storm of things for Ascension, in the sense that between COVID and looking for a new priest, that combination could have crippled a lot of parishes. And through our leadership and our volunteers that we have in this parish, for the most part, other than things that were totally out of our control, I feel like we did a very good job, and we really didn't miss a beat this year. We were able to have services, we were able to have meetings, we were able to get business done on a pretty regular basis. So because of that, those two ladies, as well as all of our volunteers, definitely need to be commended. Luckily, as a junior warden, one thing that did go right in 2020 was we did not have a huge list of things that had to be done with facilities, and we had a couple issues, but nothing so major that it just broke our budget. In the junior warden's report that I sent out that you would have got, you would see that in both cases, the two main budgets that I work from, the grounds in the repairs and maintenance, leading into 2020, we had to decrease the funding for those budgets. Luckily, other than one issue where we did not budget for the bush hogging of the fields or the lots across from the church, we were able to stay within those budgets. So that's good news that we didn't have any major issues and weren't able to have to break our budgets to fix a repair that just, for lack of a better term, has to be fixed. And you don't have a choice but to fix it, and then you got to go over budget. So a few of the highlights and a few of the things that we took care of this year around the grounds. Many people probably noticed early in the spring of 2020 that we trimmed the crepe myrtles that are in the courtyard. They hadn't been done in a long, long time, and quite frankly, had just gotten totally out of control. They were growing on tops of the roofs. They were causing some roof damage to the overhang and the walkway, so we decided we need to get those charged. We looked into estimates. We were looking at upwards of $2,000 in estimates in some cases. So our grounds, our regular groundskeeper, Mike Keith, and his business, Waterflow Productions, decided he was going to do it just included as part of our regular budget. He would just consider it a day of work for him, and totally took care of that for us. He has since done it again last week. So for this upcoming year, we're hoping to make this an annual thing so that they don't get as out of control. And luckily, he does a very good job. He doesn't commit the quote unquote crepe murder that we hear about. He does a very good job trimming them how they're supposed to be trimmed so that they will grow back and look good the following spring and into the summer. The labyrinth in the front of the church has been something we've addressed a couple times. Because of the slope of that ground and because of the way it's laid out, it gets a lot of erosion. Rainwater runs downhill, causes a lot of washout. So we've had to replace the mulch in the pea gravel a couple times on that. We're looking for more permanent solutions, but for the time being, we're going to try to just keep up on that and continue to replace the mulch when needed. It's not a huge expense, so it's something we can do on a regular basis if we have to, but we would like to find a more permanent solution for that. We've had AC repairs in the Grace House and in the church. One of the issues we faced again this year that we also faced in 2019 was some molding issues due to extra humidity levels in the Grace House. We got a more precise diagnosis this year from that. So because of that, we feel like we have taken care of those issues. It did have some issues to do with the AC. In response to that also, we did a fogging / bombing, which those of you that are in the business world or running into or working any sort of office setting, I'm sure they're doing that this year on a regular basis due to COVID. And it's basically a little aerosol can that you press down, and then all of a sudden it will explode and send out a bunch of chemicals out that kill viruses, kill disease, kill and in this case mold spores. So we wanted to make sure we got all those mold spores out of the building after we got the problem fixed with the AC unit. Ken Garvey volunteered his time. Back here late in the year, we noticed some issues with the windows over here in the Grace House, some moisture leaking in and some damage around the windows. So he did some polyurethane and sealing of the windows that he hopes will fix the problem, but it is something we're going to continue to monitor because when he got up to do the work, he actually didn't notice a whole lot of openings. So there is a possibility we have water coming somewhere else, but we are going to continue to monitor that. Then on the back, I had 2 projects that are coming into the following year. The city of Hattiesburg has been out here. They've done some work on some drains out by Arlington Loop. On 2 separate drains, they brought in some fill dirt to handle some eroding in a quote-unquote sinking drain. And then also just some damaged drains out there. They had sent people out. They have done some work. The last email I got was that they were going to then follow up with me on what else needed to be done or what had to be done. I have not gotten that email yet. So I don't know if they have just not emailed me back to confirm that everything is officially done or if there's more to that. It looks like they did the work and took care of the work that needed to be done on the drains though. And then lastly, the vestry It has been discussed. By no means is anything final. It's just kind of, we're in the exploratory stages of looking into possibly the lots across the street and possibly seeing what we can do for money in terms of sale. Are we getting a fair price? Are they estimated at a fair price? What is the actual assessment of that land and so forth? So we may look into that as a way of to generate revenue, and we may not do anything with it. It's just in the exploratory stages right now. So other than that, that's my report. Like I said, it's been a good year in terms of projects, a good year in terms of facilities, not having to spend a lot of money and go over budget, and taking care of the things that had to get taken care of. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, you should have been emailed a 2021 budget. If you remember in past meetings, it was usually copied on a green sheet of paper or several green sheets of paper. That's what we're going to be looking at next. This will be our present year's budget, 2021. So if you look at those first three columns, you'll see that's carried over from 2020. And then that last column is our budget for 2021. And nothing's showing because we haven't, recorded anything for January of 2021 yet. So as Mary Ellen was saying, if you look at line 4005, that's our pledges. You can actually see the difference in print right there, the difference between our 2020 pledges and our 2021 pledges. It's a difference of like $8,600 or so. Okay, and then 4006, there's nothing recorded for 2021. Designated pledge, which is line 4008, 7,620. All right, we brought the plate, our best guess at what the plate may be, which is line 4010. We brought that down a little bit because we don't know how long suspension of services is going to be, and so we brought that down to 10,000. And we're hoping that the diocese will approve what we requested for 2021, and if so, 18,000 of that request. That's not the whole amount we requested, but 18,000 of that request will come into the operating budget to help pay the priest stipend. So for that total income, you have $197,364. And then you add to that your 5,000 accounts, which is gumbo and some interest and some other small things. So your 5,000 accounts come up to 16,300. So if you add 4,000 and 5,000 accounts together, you get a budget of income of $213,664. Okay, that's income. Let's look at expenses. The 6,000 expenses, you'll see there's probably not a great deal of difference. Some of the things that are based on percentages changed a little bit because what we reported as income in 2019 changed from what we're going to report for 2020. And some of these things are based on your percentage of income. So you'll see line 6005 did go down a little bit, as well as seminary report. So your general church expenses, or your 6,000 accounts, come up to $26,862. Okay, the 7,000 account is called operating expenses. is you'll notice those are about the same. We did add a little bit of money in there for acolytes. Things are remaining the same until you get to some of those lower accounts. 7060 music and choir, it was cut some. Office and supplies, copier lease stayed the same. And the rector search, since they're not having to travel, was cut back from $4,000 to $2,000. So your total 7,000 accounts come to $10,550. Okay, your 8,000 accounts, we're still talking about expenses or property expenses. It's the lawn care, the pest control, the insurance, the janitorial and yard supplies. Okay, we did increase the lawn care by $1,000, which made that $13,000 opposed to $12,000, and that's because we remembered to include the bush hogging across the street. Some of these numbers stay the same. Parish hall cleaning, what we are attempting to do is work out with a professional cleaning service, cleaning for all 3 buildings right now. And so we're sort of guessing at what that might be, based on the number of times we've requested them to be here and what we've requested them to do. And then we keep our repairs and maintenance budgeted. That would be line 8050. So your total property expenses, our total 8,000 account is 28,600. Okay, 8,500, our utilities. Everything remains really close to the same. We upped the church phone and the internet just to reflect what it actually is. And I think maybe we had some discussion on the gas bill, whether we could cut that or not. So we may decide to do a slight increase there. I don't know. So the 8,500 accounts came to 16,300. Salaries, of course, with an odd year like we just had, and I'm sorry to say for some past several years we've not been able to give any bumps in salaries. So a lot of that stayed the same. You see the nursery worker came down. What we did is we just based it on what we pay times 52 Sundays in the year. And that may be a little off because we just had 5 Sundays in January. But if you look at, of course, the secretary stayed the same. If you look at sexton, we don't have anything per se budgeted for sexton. We're going to check out and see what this cleaning service offers us. But we wanted to keep that line item for a sexton one day if there's one hired. The money that's put under those 9026 A's and B's, that was the accounts where when Patty would fill in for the secretary, that's that same account. And so we kept that account and funded it. And Patty may start opening the office on Fridays. So when emails need to be collected and relayed out or information passed back and forth, she can do that for us. And then the priest, you'll see, was bumped from 84,000 to 84,500. My best guess as to why we did that, it just sounded better. And then, so Ken has figured out what the employer matching and the workman's comp would be on that. The total expense for is $134,323, giving us total expenses of $216,600 altogether. So as you see, if you compare that 216,000 amount with our income on the first page, 213, we do have a little bit of a negative, budget of $2,900, $2,971. The good thing is we probably already made that up in January through salaries. If not January, then by mid-February, we will have made that up. So it's not too bad of a budget, although it is a bare bones budget. Not much wiggle room at all. So are there any questions about the 2021 budget? The vestry did approve this budget at our last vestry meeting. Okay.
Looks like Joe has a question.
Joe has a question.
He's gonna have to unmute himself.
Joe, if you can unmute yourself.
Just briefly, the pledge, the revenue for pledged receipts, the big number at the very top there, pledges. Is that the actual pledges that were made that were turned in?
Yes, yes.
So that what was actually pledged was 161,744.
That's correct.
Okay, that was my question.
All right, thank you. Anybody else? All right, if not, we will go on with the search committee report. You probably want to hear more about that than anything. So that's why we saved it for last. I'm kidding.
Good afternoon. Yes, I'm back again this year. As we reported earlier, and as my report reflects, we were reactivated earlier this year for looking for a priest. The search committee of Ascension was reactivated on September the 1st, 2020, after a call to a priest to be Ascension's rector was declined in August of 2020. Nominations for a new priest were opened on Friday, September the 11th, 2020, and were closed on Friday, October the 9th, 2020. Documents received from those nominated were received in fairly quick order. We did receive the full list from the diocesan office. They were studied, these documents were received, they've been studied and analyzed. In December of 2020, the initial interviews with those persons interested in entering mutual discernment were completed. The search process has continued in January 2021 with more interviews and more discernment process. The search committee requests that your prayers for the successful completion of this process continue, and that we continue to follow God's vision and plan for this parish family. We thank you, the family of Ascension, for your unfailing support, patience, and understanding. And I also wanted to add that everyone we have talked with have commented on what a welcoming, caring parish this certainly seems to be. And of course, we affirm that with those people. May God's peace be with us all. Thank you.
Okay. Before we close, I'd just like to ask if anybody has any comments, any questions. I want to thank you for using this format. It's not as intimate, and we don't have this the good potluck dinner here. But I do want to thank Beth for providing a few snacks for us that have been here for quite a while. Anything?
Barbara?
Yes.
Barbara Vance. I just would like to move for a vote thanking you for what you've done this past year. It's been service above and beyond.
Second.
I wouldn't do it if I didn't want to. Okay. Announcements. As far as I know, we just have one, and that is that Marilyn Cantrell's funeral will be Tuesday, which is the 19th. It will be at her church, which is Ignite, I-G-N-I-T-E, Ignite. I looked the address up, but I didn't write it down. It's in Laurel.
It's behind Office Depot.
It's behind Office Depot in Laurel. Visitation at 9 o'clock. The service at 10 o'clock. And I think that's the only announcement I have, except for to thank each one of you for joining us again and using this format. And Jason, of course, setting up the technology for us. I couldn't have done this. I just sent everybody an email and been done with it. Our next vestry meeting, I said it was February 17th. That is incorrect. It's the 21st of February. And if there are several other reports that are written, take a look at those if you would. There's some good information in there. I will tell you that every group just about needs people. Acolytes, we have two acolytes. Worship leaders, lay readers, Flower Guild, all these groups need people. Flower Guild, there's 4 teams. There's 1 team of 2 and 3 teams of 1. So we'd love to have you join us. So
Are we gonna have gumbo in February?
we are cooking gumbo in February. Thank you for that question. The supplies have been ordered, and we need people here Friday.
What day?
Is it the 5th? Somebody hold on, let's get a calendar. I think
Friday's the 5th.
Friday the 5th, we're cooking. Saturday the 6th, we're selling. It's a half cook. But as far as the big pots, we mess up just as many of the big pots as we do if it's a whole cook. We need people here early. If you work at a place that you can take off a day without any harm, I urge you to do that. I encourage you to do that. Because we need people here to help cook and to help clean the 5-gallon buckets that we dip the gumbo into. There's a lot of work to be done. And as you know, Ken is just trying to get over physical injuries himself from a wreck. And so we need to help him out. We need to help ourselves out by helping Ken. So yes, we are cooking gumbo. And the cards will go out, media will be contacted, so we need everybody's help to get this gumbo out to sell. Anything else that anybody can think of? Okay. We'll close with a prayer. Lord Jesus Christ, you said to your apostles, peace I give to you, my own peace I leave with you. Regard not our sins, but the faith of your church, and give to us the peace and unity of that heavenly city, where with the Father and the Holy Spirit, you live and reign now and forever. Amen.
Amen.
This meeting is closed.
Thank you, Lord.
Thank you.
Always.